On March 26th, Karnataka Governor Thawarchand Gehlot sent back the Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill to the state government asking for clarifications, even though it had already been passed by both houses of the legislature. The bill proposes breaking up the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike into up to 7 smaller city corporations, which the government says will help improve the city's infrastructure. However, the governor's decision came after opposition parties and civic groups raised concerns urging him to reconsider. One major point of concern is the proposed Greater Bengaluru Governance Authority, which would oversee these smaller corporations. Critics argue that this could interfere with the powers of elected local bodies, which are protected under the 74th Constitutional Amendment. Civic groups have also said that the bill weakens citizen participation, sidelines the State Election Commission, reduces the role of the Metropolitan Planning Committee, and could even impact Bengaluru's cultural and demographic identity. To better understand the opposition to the bill and the concerns of civic groups, we are joined by Sandeep Anirudhan, who is a civic activist and founder of Citizens Agenda for Bengaluru. He was also part of the delegation that submitted a memorandum to the governor.
And you've been opposing the Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill, and now that it has been sent back by the governor, can you tell us what were your major opposition against the recent bill that was passed by the assembly?
Akshita, thanks for having me on the show again. The Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill, we've all been opposing it for many reasons. Most fundamental of them being that it's a violation of the 74th Amendment itself. As you know, there is a law in the Constitution of India that prescribes the planning function and the governance function of a city in very clear terms. For planning, we're supposed to have a Metropolitan Planning Committee, and among its functions is to coordinate with all the other agencies and all other players in a city so that there is coordinated planning. And we're supposed to have master planning. The Karnataka government has been obstructing for 32 years. The consequence is visible to all of us. The consequence is that Bengaluru has had unplanned development. It got called out by none less than the Supreme Court in 2023 Jan as the consequences of unplanned development, how Bengaluru is crumbling and why no other city in India should go through this. So that's been fairly well established. That a consequence of unplanned development is it's an unfortunate situation for Bengaluru, and this is purely because the government has been bypassing the Metropolitan Planning Committee, and we've not had a legally tenable master plan since 1992, since the law was made. Therefore, the second thing is the 74th Amendment also clearly prescribes that a city should have a devolved, decentralized, unified. The government has the discretion of bringing all the services that are required for the city management under the roof of the city government, and it has to be elected. And we're supposed to have a mayor and council and the rest. In effect, we're supposed to have an autonomous city government devolved from the state government, which means it has to be autonomous from the state government. If you look at this GBGB bill, it is clear that it is trying to sideline both the MPC and the city government, and wishes to set up a third tier of government, which is not part of the constitution. They want to set up a layer which consists of the state government and its MLAs and MPs, and bureaucrats who head parastatals. So in effect, they want to create a third tier which is unconstitutional, which will oversee and control. So this is almost colonial. It's like a colonial body, like you have a regent or something, in a different country who sits on top of an elected government and tells it what to do. So similarly, basically they want to, one, split up the city into multiple corporations, which is again ill-advised as part of this, because it will lead to a whole lot of governance issues. As it were, the city is badly governed. Now, if you go through another round of limitations, divisions, updation of papers, records, Bengaluru is a city which has poor record keeping. Already we have a huge amount of confusion because the revenue department has a set of land records. The BB has another set of land records. Most often they don't agree with each other. Then, there's a BDA which adds to another mix of confusion. Instead of reducing this, the government has decided we will increase it. We'll have 5 more players in the fray. We'll have 5 more sets of records, 5 more sets of different planning. Now imagine in this, if you have 5 different governments, all doing different things. Just imagine one government will say, we are waiving off property tax. Another one will say, we will give you free food. Another one will say something else. There'll be so much confusion going around here. And to top it, if any of the city governments are not as the same party as the state government, then you will have discrimination. One city government will get some benefits from the state government, the other will not get. It's just, we don't need all of this mess. The constitution has already prescribed what is necessary for the city. For 30 years, the government has irresponsibly ignored it. All we need is for the government to implement them, maintain transparency, maintain commitment to constitutionality and rule of law. That's all we need. They're just confusing the whole thing, and they're creating this huge mess by creating new act with a whole lot of clauses that are unconstitutional, unpalatable. Different people have different opinions on it, and then the implementation is something I'm horrified to even think about, because this government, our state government, has never implemented anything that's there in letter or spirit. If you look at the MPC, it's still on paper after 32 years. If you look at the BMLT Act, which was just passed 4 years back, still on paper. None of it is operationalized. Master plans we don't have. We don't have transport plans. See, a city like Bengaluru with 1.5 crore population, it's a megapolis, one of the megapolises of the city. And for some most ironic reasons, it's also called the IT capital of God knows what, maybe the universe. But we don't see IT at play in anything. We don't see planning at play in anything. We don't see transparency in anything. It is the most ill-governed large city in the world. It is unplanned, poor governance, no rule of law, all kinds of illegalities happening in the city, because I think it's largely because the politicians don't intend to give Bengaluru good governance. That's all. This entire, unfortunately, they're elected. It shows how bad our electoral system is, that we elect such people who have no intention of providing good governance. And they keep trying to, scheme their way into such pathetic, they form these pathetic schemes, misgovern, and they keep trying to fleece the city. So this is the political economy that forces them to do these things, I think. I mean, not forces them, they're willingly co-opting the political economy.
Coming back to this part, that the having mayors or having so many 5 to 7 mayors will create more problems, but one of the arguments made is that the local issues would be handled by the local mayor. The problems of one area is not the same as the other area, and that might work in the favor because of that. That's the argument that we have got from the people who favor the bill, which sounds good on paper. So what is the, because it's clearly a thing, right? The areas of, like, let's say Whitefield, Mahadevapura have a completely different problems to compare to the old Bengaluru parts of the city. So having different people in one area does make a lot of sense when we look at the local problems. So why oppose it completely? Like the concerns about funding, the concerns about political power, and the city, the government and the state, there will be a conflict, of course, but why would that aspect of the bill be also opposed?
See, Akshita, it is argued that decentralization, division is a good thing. And I tend to agree it is a good thing if it is a large state across a huge geography and it becomes unmanageable in that sense. Then it is a great idea to split up a state into, as was done with parts of UP, recent Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. That's good. In fact, if Karnataka is also split up into multiple states, it might be a good thing, especially for North Karnataka, because it gets very poor governance. But for a small geography to be split up as completely independent units, I think it's unwise, because one, the city doesn't see. If you look at a Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, they work as separate geographies functionally. They don't work as one geography. Bengaluru works as one entity. It doesn't work as different cities. It's not a Bengaluru and Mysore. You're talking about Bengaluru. You're creating artificial boundaries. Now the problems that will crop up with that is this: one, funds. In this small geography itself, some parts might be more prosperous, some parts will be less prosperous. It will lead to gentrification. The ones that have more funds will have more facilities. The ones that have less funds will have less facilities. Now, that is not palatable. Second thing is, like I said, there will be discrimination among these just because of the politics. And again, it's a small geography. It will affect. It's okay to have politics over large geographies because people are disconnected. Here, people are living next to each other. We don't want to create unnecessary differences. It will not bode well for the city. The city needs to work in a unitary fashion. It has to follow a uniform policy. It has to have uniform governance, and it has to share funds in an equitable manner. These are the priorities. Division into multiple cities will not work here. What will work is what is already being tried, which is devolution into zones. We already have 8 zones. We have 8 zonal commissioners. See, what is missing is full implementation. You can't say I'm implementing something, do 10% implementation and say it's not working. Right now, what's happened, they've created the zones, they've appointed IAS level zonal commissioners. They have not been fully empowered. Why? Even now, most of the departments, the zonal officials are still sitting in the head office. Major road officials are still sitting in the head office. Planning officials are still sitting in the head office. What needs to be, what is necessary for that devolution to be complete is zonal officials have to be sent to the zonal offices. They have to operate from the zonal offices. The fund budgeting, these can be devolved to the zonal offices. That will take care of it, right? Why do you have to see, if you create separate cities, right from the basics, you have to start documentation, migration of previous records, maps, delimitation,
a lot of paperwork
officials.
And bureaucratic part will come in.
Oh Lord, it will take another decade for us to get used to that. Whereas now, the zone definition is very easy. We are not duplicating any of the existing paperwork, systems, practices, nothing. We are only relocating people so that they work from that zone. So it brings them closer to the people. That's all we need. And we need elected representatives. We don't have elections. That is a problem. No. So if elections happen and we have representatives, council works, mayor, and if we devolve all the powers properly, and if the elected reps are held responsible, everything will work. The government has not tried it. And they will say that doesn't work. How can you let them, make such a claim when they have not tried it? Let us give full empowerment to the present system. I am absolutely certain it will work flawlessly if there is transparency, if there is proper devolution, if there are elected councillors, if we have properly, actually we have to issue good, as per the 74th Amendment, we are also supposed to have ward committees and area sabhas with substantial powers, including budgeting and planning. Have we ever tried it till now? No. See, that's the kind of devolution we need. That they don't want to do. They want to do superficial division of the cities, calling it devolution and decentralization. But the actual devolution and decentralization is forming ward committees, forming area sabhas, electing councillors, electing mayor. That the state government doesn't want to do. Now, do you see the intent? Intent is not good. Intent is to create a lot of commotion, but hold on to all the finances and powers. If their intent was good, they wouldn't do all of this. They will just issue a good set of rules for ward committees. In fact, they should have elections to ward committees. Now they have an appointed system. They should have elections to area sabhas. Let democracy go truly grassroots, because it is only when we have grassroots democracy that we will create a new set of quality leaders. That is the incubation space for democracy. Right now, there's a vacuum over there. Area Sabha, Ward Committee, and corporators level, right now, we don't have elections, which means the people who are getting into politics now have no training. They have no connect with people. They don't understand issues. They don't understand laws,
The
which is
local
why we have
concerns.
such poor we have very poor crop of politicians now. Why? We have not had grassroots democracy. We haven't got the third tier of democracy. This is very critical for the kind of quality of democracy we have in the present and in the future. We are already suffering because for the last 80 years, the third tier was affected. Before that, before independence, we had very good, at least a much better third tier, which is why we had leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose. All of them were products of city government. Did you know that? They were all corporators.
That's right.
You can imagine what a loss we've had in the last 8 decades.
Makes sense. But okay, coming back to this part about area Sabha's funding, the original bill, which was given by Brand Bengaluru Committee, that had good provisions in terms of funding and area Sabhas. What you mentioned was not there in the new bill, that's right. But let's say if the original bill that was given by the Brand Bengaluru Committee, that's coming in, if the government chooses to send that back as the revised version, is that good enough? Is that uh, something that would help Bangalore?
It's like asking me, there is a very good Volvo car that drives well and you like it. Somebody comes, you offers you a Mercedes Benz and asks you, I see Mercedes Benz is also good. Why don't you take it? Does the need exist to migrate to another vehicle? You get it? Now, 74th Amendment has all the answers. Brand Bengaluru Committee, why do they have to create a new bill? You tell me that first.
But again,
So, Brand Bengaluru Committee was being misused to create a new bill, which is again a violation of the Constitution. Okay. Now, how cleverly they were misused. The Brand Committee, Bengaluru Committee members thought, okay, we will play a compromise game. We will put in some good points and we'll put in a few bad points that the politicians want so that they will accept our good points. The politicians turned out to be even more cunning than them. The politicians said, yes, we will accept only the points that you put for us, the bad points, and we'll kick out all your good points. We don't want all of that. Now, did you see how the Brand Bengaluru Committee got played?
I mean, the eventual bill has been turned. Like there are a lot of modifications there that was passed.
No, just about all the good points the Brand Bengaluru Committee had put have been thrown out into the dustbin. Only those compromise points they accepted, hoping that both will get accepted, were accepted. So basically, they got cleverly played by the politicians. They might not have the face to admit it, but that is exactly what happened. It's in black and white. You just read the bills and you know. Now, the point is, why even go down this road? Why does the Brand Bengaluru Committee have to be set up? Why did the BS Patil committee also have to be set up? Why? We have a constitution. That is our Bible. That's our Gita. That is our Quran. Why can't we just follow it? It's very simple, the law. 74th Amendment is not a complicated law. It's one of the most detailed amendments in our constitution, mind you. Probably the longest amendment. If you go to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs website, you will find a model law. They've already made it. There are at least 2 model laws over there. Then there's a framework for how to do planning, district planning. There is a framework for the MPC. There are about 40-50 documents that you can refer to on the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs central website that gives you all the documentation you require. There is no need to reinvent the wheel. All these reinventions of the wheel done at the state government level are only done to manipulate, are only done to hijack. That's all. So the intent of the Brand Bengaluru Committee is also not right. They have actually let down citizenry by being allowed to be manipulated and used.
So you're saying we don't need the Greater Bengaluru Governance Bill at all, just stick to the 74th Amendment Bill, and that is going to help us solve the problems of the city right now. Okay.
There are model laws that are already there.
Hmm.
If you go to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs
Yeah.
website, if you go to law, under that you have a section on what laws the city requires, from 74th Amendment to model laws that can be adopted at the state level. Very detailed. You don't require anything new, and they're very and they stay honest, loyal to the constitutional amendment. So all you have to do is take that, replace on top, put Karnataka government, and you can issue a law, and it will not violate any of the thing, and it will not create all this unnecessary friction with citizens.
Okay. But again, this would be the last question coming to it. Right now, the governor has just returned the bill, which means that most likely it's going to come back again sooner or later. So, what are your plans? Are you going to oppose it, or is it the same thing that you are saying right now, that we want the 74th Amendment Act to be used to govern the city, or what's going to happen?
So, see, we will always stick to our demand that everything the government does has to be constitutional, and there has to be rule of law. See, the risk we run is, if there is if if the at the top our government is not following constitution and it doesn't have any interest in rule of law, then by what stretch of imagination can we expect the rest of the country to follow constitution and rule of law? As it is, you see all around there is a breakdown of governance, there's a breakdown of rule of law. Everybody is violating layout laws, they're violating construction laws, they're violating all kinds of laws. Why? Because right at the top, the examples we see are these. Governments themselves are violating laws. I mean, say government themselves is not that the government as an entity, it is each individual minister, bureaucrat, they are all sullying this fabric of this constitution by, literally murdering every law. So we can't allow this to go, we can't allow this to continue. We can't allow our constitution to be disrespected, degraded at every step. At some point, we have to tell them, listen, just follow the constitution. If you want to change things, go and amend the constitution. Do it the right way. Don't do it the wrong way. Don't have laws at the state level which are
Contradicting
which do not agree with the which contradict the national laws. Don't do this. This is not done. It's wrong, and we have to follow due process, due diligence, and don't waste citizens' time in all of this. Why are we having to fight over the laws we have, which are already constituted, right? So, see, if you go to the Mohua website, there is a model municipal law, 2003. Then there is a model Nagara Raj Bill, 2008. Two documents they can just take. Our government is very fond of copy paste. Of late, there are at least 10 controversies that involve copy paste, including the GBGB bill. They've copy pasted a lot of elements of BBMP 2020.
Yeah.
Instead of that, let them take the model Nagara Raj Bill or the model municipal law 2003 and copy paste only government of Karnataka. No harm is done.
Okay.
And it's amazing the amount of resources that's available. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has done a lot of work. State governments don't have to actually do anything. This is and the second thing is, see, this kind of the Nagarpalika Act applies to all cities, towns in the state. Now you have this very funny kind of law for Bengaluru, and then all the other cities will have different laws. This violates the law, the principle of equality, which is promised to us by the constitution again. We have to have uniform laws. So basically, I think the government should only either amend. See, basically, I think it should subsume the KTCP Act, Karnataka Town Country Planning Act, and the KMC Act. And if there are any other acts that deal with municipalities, city governments, and all that, it should actually cancel all those laws and subsume them all into one law that governs all the cities in Karnataka. That would be the ideal thing.
So stick to 74th Amendment itself and follow the plan, and let's try it out with full implementation.
It's wrong to have a constitution, have a part of the constitution which addresses the topic and not follow it. That's like having it's like if you're a very devoted religionist, you won't follow the holy book. It's something like that. So you either get rid of the holy book, form your own holy book, or follow it. Follow the holy book. If you're saying yes, I am following this religion, you have to follow the holy book, right? Or you say I'm not part of this religion, I'll form my own religion. So the choice is theirs. I mean, like, if you're saying we are part of India, we have to follow the Constitution of India. Otherwise, it's a sacrilege what we're doing.
Right. Thank you.